Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Dr. Sasheen. Welcome to Tuesday Tea Break. Hello, hello, hello out there. For those of you who may watch the replay, hello, hello, hello out there. Welcome to the Women in Transition podcast channel. I am your host, Dr. Sasheen, and it is Tuesday. And on Tuesdays, we take a 30-ish minute tea break to just kind of breathe and release, right? Because the like I like to point out, for a lot of people, Monday morning started Sunday night. By the time you get to Tuesday, it already feels like midweek. So a chance to breathe and release, relate, relax, have a little something to drink. So this morning, usually I will have a cup of tea, but I'm having a smoothie because my workout that I try to do in the morning got pushed a little bit further down, and then I would normally have my tea. I would have already had my smoothie, or else I would wait. Anyway, the point is this morning you're going to see the big straw and the smoothie instead. So say hello if you come in. Let me know you're out there. Say hey. And again, this tea break isn't designed to be a major push of any kind of thing in your day. The tea break really is a chance to just breathe, to find a piece of calm, to protect your peace, and set a boundary in your week that says, it is just my time. Good morning, Michelle. Coffee this morning. Fantastic. I'm having a smoothie this morning. Like I was just saying, I normally would have tea, but I am running a little off schedule. So I thought I would just go ahead and have my smoothie. So you see this big pink straw. Where are we going? I'm so excited. Will you book plane tickets? This is fantastic. I'm a firm believer that one of the best ways you can protect your peace is to move your peace boundary into a new environment where no one knows your name. And there was a show when I was a kid. It was gosh, I'm gonna forget the name of the show. Mm, Cheers. It was about this bar. Um, Ted Danson. Anyway, it was a long time ago, and I don't really remember a whole lot about it. But I remember the theme song was a place where everybody knows your name. Sometimes you want to go to a place where everybody knows your name. Sometimes you want to go to a place where nobody knows your name, where the person that you are in you, the person that you really desire to let out and to be, can be without anybody saying, "What are you doing? Who are you to be this way? This is not how you usually are." So I'm a firm believer in buying the plane tickets, gassing up the car. I don't care how you go, but going to places that expand your peace bubble and allow you to love on yourself in ways that maybe you just can't do in the environment that you're in every single day. So, we are so excited because one of the things I posted about last week was to book the tickets and then don't look back. Leaving in 2 weeks, 4 days, Oregon coast. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. The Oregon coast this time of year, absolutely gorgeous. Yes, it's cold. Absolutely. But I know that sometimes people chase the beauty of winter as opposed to the warmth of summer. I'm a team summer. I'm team summer, but I I just believe that there are certain places that are just gorgeous, and Oregon coast is gorgeous anyway, but there is something about certain places in winter that the beauty is just ethereal. It's like you step between spaces and you found a small pocket of another world here. It's wonderful. Oh, that makes me that makes me so happy. I so love that. Thank you so much for that feedback. I really firmly want more of us in the next 2 to 3, like this first quarter. I keep encouraging people not to make plans for the year, but make plans for the quarter. Like, what can you do in the next 3 months? That you don't have to wait until December to see the fruits of that, right? To see the joy of that, to see the fruits of that labor, and to be able to take this one first quarter of the year and make a small mini goal, something that will make you feel like I have accomplished something in a crazy year already that was for me, that was designed for me. Like, that is fantastic. I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you. I can't wait to hear all about it. I can't wait to see pictures and hear all about it. I love the Oregon coast. I love the Pacific Northwest. My son was born there. I lived there for 6 years almost. I didn't live on the coast. I lived in a little town in Washington State called Ellensburg. I was there, but we did roam all over the place as much as we could, and it is just stunningly gorgeous up there. Really is, really is. Um, I mean, that is one of the drawbacks of the Pacific Northwest in the winter is that they can get some pretty extreme weathers, but I think I'm speaking peaceful travels, open roads, undulating highways. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be fantastic. No matter what. We're not hoping for weather. We know the weather's going to cooperate because it just has to. That's it's on the joy list. Period. And since we are protecting our peace and leaning into our joy, the weather's going to cooperate. Absolutely. Absolutely going to cooperate. I find it like I said, I'm team summer. I'm team chase the sunshine, but there's something just otherworldly. We used to drive from the middle of Washington over to the wet side of the mountain because I lived on the up on one side of the Cascade Mountains, and we would drive over the Cascade Mountains to get over to Seattle and Tacoma and down, down to Portland, things like that. But there's something to be said about driving over mountains in snow. They're very good about keeping the roads clean, but there is still something very just it just feels like you're on another planet. Just you feel like you're just on another planet. You're driving through the snow, and there are these peaks, huge mountain peaks and big valleys all around you, and you feel so small and vastly insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But it's so it they're beautiful memories that I'm glad I lived there because it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Um, uh, yeah, so we were those kind of travelers as well. We just, you just go, you just enjoy the drive because this is the interesting thing about living in the United States that I think people from other countries don't necessarily understand. Good morning, Caroline. Don't necessarily understand when they think about the United States. People are like, "Oh, why don't you all go other places?" And I am team get out of the country. Absolutely. But there are so many ecosystems in this country. Like if you've never left your state, and I know people who've never left their state. If you've never left your state, you don't even have you can't even contemplate the vastness of this landscape called the United States of America, right? If you've never left Kansas or Missouri or Tennessee or Oklahoma or even like New York or Maine, like if you live in that cluster, you think, oh, I've gone to these few places. But if you've never traveled out beyond the borders of your state, then you probably have only read about this country in books or seen it on TV. But until you've driven through some of these places, you just don't understand the scope of how big this country really is. I mean, it is massively big. Like, and I've driven from one coast to the next multiple times. So I speak from someone who's been in the car, in the RV, in the plains, in the mountains, by from the river to the sea, up to the Continental Divide 3 times now. Um, I guess 4 times since we had to come back and forth. Continental Divide, that when you haven't done that journey of to parts of the country that you've only heard about or read about or seen, then you just don't really have the concept of the vastness of this landscape. You just don't get it. I encourage people to, even if you can't buy the plane ticket right now, you can go get in the car. You can gas up the car and just drive to the next state over, 2 states over, 4 states over, and see what's out there. Remember the first time we drove through, I'm gonna say it's Montana. Um, so it's it's flat, right? So that there's that. But the thing about Montana is I used to read about Montana because my dad liked Westerns, and they would always call it Big Sky Country. And I never quite understood what that meant, right? Like, what does that mean when you say big sky country? Like, what does that mean? And then we were in Montana, Wyoming area, and we were driving through Montana, and I thought to myself, gosh, this sky goes on forever. Like, it's so weird how it just feels like the sky up there just goes on. And then it hit me as we were in a valley driving through. This is what they mean by big sky country, because the sky, there's nothing blocking the sky. And coming from where we came from, it's just it finally hit me what people meant when they would say big sky country. When you live in places where the sky has mountains in it or cities in it, you don't realize how vast the sky really is. And then you get someplace like Wyoming and Montana, and it's just the sky and the horizon. That's it. Like the mountains might be in the distance, because let me tell you, those Rockies are something. But the sky is just it. I mean, again, when you start driving through just this country, you begin to get the scope of how tiny of a speck we really are against the backdrop of places like the Rockies, the Alleghenies. When we were going towards the East Coast, and I hit the Allegheny Mountains, I was like, I didn't know there was a mountain range through here. Where did this come from? Right? The first time I was, yeah, I've been everywhere. I've been everywhere. um, oh yeah. So here's the thing. I love driving, but I'm also a get there kind of girl. So I don't mind. When I was younger, I loved the long road trips. As I've gotten older and I have a family, long road trips can be fun, but they can also be really tiring, because driving it's a awareness all the time. And so somebody has to be aware all the time. And after 5 or 6 hours, you just want to get out of the car. And yes, you can meander, and yes, you can take your time, but sometimes you don't. You just want to get there too. So I'm team fly or drive, or train. We've taken the train. In this country, that's really hard to do. It's just because the train system in the US is so screwed up. It's just so messed up. I really wish we had a better train system. If you live on the coast, it's much easier to take the train. If you live in the middle of the country, you can hang it up. I mean, you can take the trains, but you're not going to go very far without complete disruption. And by the time you get to where you're going, 3 weeks have passed, and you're like, well, I could have just driven there faster, and it would have taken me half the time. So I love taking trains. One of the reasons why I think we will spend some time in Europe and Asia at some point is because I want to take their trains. I want to take the train across. I want to go to Canada. So my father they last year went to Niagara Falls. Him and his significant other went to Niagara Falls, and then they took the train partially up through Canada. They took the train from, no, sorry, they took the train here up to Niagara Falls and then back down. And they loved it. But as they said, it's the train system in this country is hard to, it's not hard to navigate. It's just not very, it's a comfortable way to travel, but it's a very clunky way to travel in this country. On the Canadian side, it was, they didn't go much further past Niagara Falls. So they didn't get the train in Canada. But I have my best friend is Canadian. And we've talked about taking the train across Canada at some point for our kids together. And it's so much more efficient. And I follow some channels, some travel channels on YouTube expressly so that I can see, what it's like to take the trains in other places. And I tell you, like the Orient Express is still running. There are trains in Africa that look amazing. And my kid really loves trains. So yeah, Big Sky Country is hard to explain to people what really is happening in some of these places that you hear about in stories. Hang on. Mm. You hear about them in stories, right? Like you read about them, you think writers have a grasp of how to explain them, how to describe them to you so that you can see them in your mind's eye. And they do, but until you have stood on a plane in Wyoming and you've just looked out and you're just like, wow, like, holy cow. This is this is something. Like we drove through the Black Hills up to Mount Rushmore, and it's just like, again, you read about these places, and I didn't necessarily want to go to Mount Rushmore, but I wanted to go to the Black Hills. You read about the landscape, but until you stand in the landscape, you just don't appreciate the beauty of the landscape. Just you just don't appreciate it. We love the trains, but we generally only take the auto train when we go to Florida. Yeah, in this country, train travel is just harder. Um, it is a long trip though, because the Amtrak trains have to yield to commercial freight trains because Amtrak leases the tracks. It doesn't own the track. And so we don't have, in this country at least, we don't have enough track for trains to run um, parallel to each other in places. And so Amtrak has to lease out use of the track from, excuse me, commercial businesses that are running freight trains back and forth across the country, right? But the problem comes when there's a train coming one way and Amtrak's going the other way. Amtrak has to yield and wait for those trains to pass. So I can remember being um on a train and having and the conductors like telling people like we're going to have to pull off. It could be half an hour. There's a train coming because you have to pull off with enough time to get all the way pulled off, right? And then the train has to pass and then you have to get back up on the track. So it can take like 30 minutes. And it's interesting how that's how we have decided to do train travel in this country, because traveling by train was actually, we had a lot of fun. But you're right, it took a long time to get anywhere because you have to pull off and wait. You just have to pull off and wait. And so yeah, it just made it made a trip that was already going to be long anyway just feel a little more stressful, because especially if you've got a connecting train that you have to get to, you've got someplace to be at some point. You hope that you're going to get there in the 22 and a half hours, right? The whatever days, but you could not, depending on what happened on the train. And we were coming through, it was winter for the first trip. We were coming through, I think it was Colorado. And we got to watch the snowfall on the train, which was great. But then we also got stuck waiting for them to clear the tracks. And then we had to wait for a freight train. It was just crazy. So when I talk to this about my with my friends in Europe about train travel, they're always like, it just seems so clunky. Like, how do you all get around? I'm like, we drive everywhere. We drive everywhere. But I also remind my friends in places like Germany, and Portugal and London, remember, you could sit Germany inside my country like 4 times. So yes, we drive everywhere, but we're talking long distances, really, really long distances that we're trying to get back and forth across. So the train issue isn't necessarily that odd, considering to get one track laid across this country took how long? I mean, come on. Made the mistake of taking a train trip to Nevada. Uh-huh. It's called the Snow Train. Oh, that's cool. It would have been fabulous, except St. Patrick's weekend, so everyone was plastered. Yeah. Yeah, that could probably have been not as much fun. Not as much fun. Um, oh yeah, so that's the unfortunate part about the Amtrak, right? Is that you have to wait for the freight trains to pass, and you can just be waiting, depending on they could be on the track stopped. We had one breakdown, and we had it's just crazy. It's just crazy. But all that to say, Michelle's going to Oregon, so we're excited. So I think the first quarter of this year has been good weather for a lot of people. The sun, the winter doldrums haven't really set in, which is really nice. I know that outside of our bubble of peace right now, a lot of things are transpiring to steal our attention and to steal our sense of, breathe in, breathe out. I know that that's happening, but Mother Nature is conspiring to at least keep our serotonin levels higher. We've got a lot of sun. It's not as overcast and gray as it could be this time of year, right? Like we've gotten some storms moving through, and I get it. Somebody's going to drop a comment about, well, it's too warm, it's too this. Listen, I'm team summer. I'm team sunshine. So as much sunshine as we can possibly get right now, I'm going to take it, because I have a feeling it's going to change on a dime, and then I'll be complaining because it's cold outside. But I just, I kind of was like, okay, Mother Nature is at least conspiring to continue to give us some sunshine. And since she's going to help us out with some sunshine and some clear-ish skies most of the time and some decent temperatures. I mean, it's been chilly, right? But it's 54 degrees here. I can't complain about that. I will not complain about that. And since we are being given the gift of weather that is cooperating, book those plane tickets. Buy yourself a train ticket. Take the weekend and go somewhere and enjoy the weather that should not be right now, okay? Because we all remember growing up when the weather was in January, at least in the middle of the country, right? We weren't going anywhere. It was cold, it was wet, it was rainy, it was snowy, it was icy, it was slick. We were all inside from pretty much December through March. And now, for a lot of us this week, the temperatures are moderate. They're 40s, 50s, even if they're upper 30s, low 40s, mid 50s. It's just okay. So, since we can't bring the temperature down, and I'm not asking us to, we can enjoy what we've got at the moment because it's going to change. It always does, right? It always does. It always changes. So, see, 42 in New York, 44. Listen, and it says I'm at 54 degrees here in the middle of the country. I mean, we got to just take advantage of it because it's going to change. It changes on a dime around here. It's winter. If you're watching this from the Southern Hemisphere, please don't brag that it's 80 degrees because you'll hurt my feelings so hard. I am team summer. And I love, I, I used to get into this argument years and years and years ago with a friend of mine. And she was like, I hate summer because you can always put on more layers, but you can't take off enough layers to get cool. And I was like, I hate winters because you have to layer up so much just for an ounce of warmth. Whereas in the summer, I can just run around in a bathing suit. Who cares? Nobody cares. This is when I would go to Hawaii. I had some friends who lived in Hawaii for a while, so I would go visit them. We got this tradition going where we would have Thanksgiving in Hawaii. So we would just run around in sarongs and bathing suits. Like, come on, come on. Let's just this summer. You've got who wants to wear parkas and scarves and earmuffs all and no, no, no. Oh, Carolyn, you're upstate. So when I lived in New York, I was downstate, Long Island, and we would hear, right? We would hear about upstate, the snow upstate. When the first year I moved to New York, that first year we had a lot of snow downstate. It was a lot of snow. And the people around me were even like, this is a lot of snow for us. Like it snows, right? It's not they didn't get any snow, but it's a lot of snow, but it didn't snow very much at all the next few years that we were there, except upstate. My neighbors, who were also happened to be my landlords, owned my building, and they also owned property upstate. I'm gonna forget where, it's someplace in the Catskills. But they would be like, "Okay, we're going upstate. We're going upstate," and they would be packing all of this stuff in winter, and we're like, "Where are you going?" They're like, "Yeah, no, we're going upstate." And we got to make sure that if we get stuck going up, like he was in the summer they were contractors, in the winters they did snow plowing and stuff. So he was like, we got to go upstate. We've got contracts. I was like, okay, that's a lot of snow. So I'm afraid for you as well. But if the weather changes, that you all don't get just like little bits of snow. I feel like upstate New York and that area up near the Catskills and all of that, y'all get like big amounts of snow in a really short amount of time. Really short amount of time. My sarong bathing suit days are over. That is absolutely incorrect. No, ma'am. I will be wrinkled and sagging from every place on my body, and I will still put on my bathing suit and sarong and take myself to the water. There is nobody who's ever going to be able to tell me that my body ain't a beach body. Is my body at the beach? Then my body's a beach body. Period. Plain and simple. No, ma'am. I rebuke that because I firmly believe that if your body is at the beach, then you have a beach body. And on the beach, all bodies are beautiful. That's my personal philosophy about it. And I will hold to that for the rest of my life. I do not care. I will throw on that sarong and I have the ones that tie around the hips. I have the ones that go all over your body. I will throw on that bathing suit and a sheer cover, and I'll be out there with my little book and my sun hat and some sunscreen. And I think this comes from living on an island where everybody went to the beach. It didn't matter what you were. I mean, it just doesn't matter. When you live on an island where there's the ocean, like every place had beaches. So everyone was always at the beach. People spent like all kinds of time at the beach. It was whole weekends at the beach practically. Um, you just that's where I really got over my sense of like I can't wear certain things. People were like wearing all kinds of things at the beach. But my friends there were like, "Are you at the beach?" "Yes." "Then you have a beach body." And I was like, "Oh yeah." And I would wear a sarong, which would help keep some of the sun at bay because whew, that Caribbean sun is something. But it was so comfortable, and it gets hot in the Caribbean, right? It was hot. I was sweating all the time, and a sarong dries quickly. It dries quickly in the heat. I could go in the water in it and come back out, and I was dry in like 5 minutes. It's perfect. Everybody is a beach body. Every single body is a beach body. You do. Oh, you do get like effect snow. That's right. Oh, that's right. Um, Gosh, man, that's a y'all get a lot of snow. You all get a lot of snow. A friend of mine is currently in Sweden. Yeah, they're in Sweden right now, where they had gotten a lot of snow, and she was saying how they were people when she was talking to her family over there that she was coming home. They kept saying, "Oh, it's snowing here. It's snowing here," and she was like, "I live in Illinois. We get excuse me, we get lake effect snow. I'm good. Like we're gonna be fine." And sure enough, she gets there and they're like, people are asking her, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Again, I get lake effect snow. We are fine in the snow. It's not a problem whatsoever." So that lake effect snow is nothing to sneeze at. In fact, she lives in Chicago. We've been talking about getting together, so maybe I'll have to hit her up so that we can check out the lake effect before the snow. Before the snow. Um, yeah, I don't like elastic either, but like I said, with my sarongs, I just tie them at the hip, or I make the halter looking thing. I have a big, huge piece of fabric, is what I'm calling a sarong. So just so I can breathe, like you gotta breathe when it's hot. Your body has got to breathe when it's hot. It just has to. I can manage soft shorts, but cannot stand the feeling of the tight suit. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I love the fact that I will say this about having lived in the Caribbean: the ways in which people kept cool because it gets hot and it's hot year round, but it's not as hot in the winter. It's amazing how winter is there because it's still hot, but it's not as hot as it was. And people would put on sweaters and little thin shawls and stuff. When I first moved there, people were like, "Oh, just wait till winter comes. You'll feel better." I was like, "Winter? What are y'all talking about? It's like 1,000 degrees here. Like I've stepped into the devil's oven. What are you talking about?" They weren't kidding. By the time when winter rolled in, I was like, "Oh, it's kind of chilly." I had soft, cool shorts and little thin sweaters because oddly enough, it does get chilly, quote unquote. Chilly. It gets chilly. It's the only way to put it. And again, one of those things, if you haven't experienced it, it's hard to explain how you go from literally being in the devil's bread oven to going, I could wear a sweater. A sweater and a pair of shorts and a tank top, but it's still nevertheless a sweater of some kind. Well, thank you for wandering across the country with me today. um, I hope that you have spent a lovely little few minutes enjoying some peace and joy. And we're excited because we're going to Oregon. Well, I'm not going to Oregon, but Michelle's going to Oregon and she's going to see the whales, hopefully. Oh, my fingers are crossed that you get to see the whales because they would be migrating this time of year. Yes, right? Like this is winter and they usually migrate this time of year. So I'm excited um, that you might see the whales. Oh, that would be so fun. My son really wants to see the whales. He really wants to see the whales. And I know that in the summer, they're down near Baja, I believe. And in the winter, they start heading towards Canada. So I think you should get the winter whale watching, which is so cool. Oh my gosh, if you do, you gotta let us know. You gotta take some pictures. So much fun. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. I hope you got a chance to lean into your joy. If you catch us on the replay, say hey, let us know how you're doing. Let us know that you're doing okay and that you found a way in the day to find a small slice of peace. Bingo, Hawaii is the best place to see whales. And I love Hawaii. Hmm. And on that interesting note, we're going to get out of here. You all have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you on Thursday. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.